Hi, basically, we're going to begin the consonants in the Spanish language. So, to begin, know that the word C in Spanish, at least in most Latin American countries, it's pronounced as in the C in cereal. When it becomes an E or an I, the C is pronounced as the C in car, like ca or se. But mostly in Spain itself, the C is pronounced not in the traditional sense that we think C sounds like. For example, my last name is Lucino. It's Lucino, so immediately we think it's Lucino. But in Spain, actually, it's pronounced as Lucino. Let's say the word parti participation in the Spanish would be um, pronounced as partic participación, or in Mexico and in Latin American countries it's pronounced as participación or participación, depending on the region of Spanish. Spanish language is very diverse, depending in its location, wherever it's spoken in either Central America, South America, or in Spain itself. So that's just an example. The second consonant is the word ch, which is pronounced as ch, as in church. The letter F is pronounced as f, as in fox. An example: eficaz, frío, frenes. That's an example. The letter K has basically the same sound in Spanish, although somewhat softer. It is found primarily in the words of foreign origin. Examples: kilometro or Iraq. That's an example. The letter M is pronounced like the M in mother. An example is madre, música, embajada. The letter P is pronounced like the P in spot. Note that the P in spot is softer and less explosive than the P in pot. An example of how you would say this is papas, padre, suponer. The letter Q is pronounced the same as the K. Note that the U following a Q is not pronounced. Example: ¿Qué tal? Si quitara que. That's a good example. Now the letter S is pronounced like the S in simple. You do not give the Z sound heard in weirs or like in many other English plural words, although it can be slightly voiced like a soft Z when it comes before an M, B, D, V, G, L, N, or R. An example of this is Susana, seres humanos, sencillo, fantasma. Fantasma, as an example. T is pronounced like the T in stop. Note that the T of stop is softer and less explosive than the T of top. Examples is todo, yate, temer. The letter W is pronounced like the W in water. It's found primarily in words of foreign origin. An example is kilowatt, Zimbabwe. Woo, basically. And the last is the letter Y is generally pronounced the same as in English. Yi, yi, ya, as you can see. Now we're going to begin with the difficult Spanish consonants. An example would be B and V. B and V are pronounced exactly the same. In fact, one of the few spelling problems that many Spanish speakers have is with these two letters because they don't distinguish them at all from the sound. Generally, the B and the V are pronounced like ba in beach, ba. When either of the letter is between two vowels, the sound is formed kind of like the English V, except that the sound is made by touching the lips together instead of the upper teeth and the lower lip. Examples: bebe, arbol, vaca. That's an example. The letter D is generally pronounced somewhat like the D in diet, although often the tongue touches the bottom of the teeth instead of the top. But when the D becomes the vowels, it has a much softer sound, like the th in that, like the. Examples: derecho, helado, diablo. As you see, the letter G is pronounced like much the same thing as the English G. Like an example of the word go, except when it precedes an I or E. In those cases, it is pronounced like the Spanish J. Examples: gordo, gritar, gigante. Mahigo, as you can say. H is always silent. Example, hermano, hacer, deshacer. Uh, Sometimes, though, in some Spanish areas, like in northern Spain, they do pronounce the H, but usually in the Central Plain, in Madrid, in the Basque Country, and in the south, the H is pronounced. So, like in northern Spain, they would say hermano, but in southern Spain, they would say hermano. Um, so that's the reason why there's a difference in that. The letter J, which is basically the J and the G when before an E or I, can be difficult as it sounds that of the German cha. Um, it's absent in English except for a few foreign words when it is sometimes retained as in the final sound of lock or loch or in the initial sound of the cha, chanoka. But an example in Spanish is garaje, juego, jardín. The letter L is always pronounced like that of the L in little, never like the second one. Example is los, helado, pastel, and the double L. When you see a word that has two L's, is usually pronounced like the Y in yellow. So it's usually if you see like the word parallel, it would in Spanish it would be actually said parallel, parallel. An example is the word llama. You would actually say this as llama, or a word called calle. It would actually be pronounced as calle, or the word for horse, which is spelled as CABALLO. You would actually say caballo. So, I guess that's that's the same word actually used in Philippines, caballo. The word, the letter N is usually has the pronunciation of N in nice. An example is no, en vez de andar. You try to say that again. No, en vez andar. So you can try saying that. And then when you have the second kind is when you have the N that has the pronunciation mark on top of it, the squiggly mark. It's pronounced as nye, nye. So an example, like the word Santo Niño, without the squiggly mark, you would actually say Santo Nino, but with a squiggly mark, it's Niño. An example, ñoño, cañón, campaña. Those are examples. The consonant, the letter the letter R or double R's are formed by flap of the tongue against the roof of the mouth or a trill. So let's say there's the word rico. In English, it's rico, right? R-I-C-O. But in Spanish, it's actually rico. Revolución. What's another? Just try that. That's basically that's the indigenous Spanish R. The letter X varies in sound depending on the origin of the word. It is often pronounced like the X in example or exit, but it also may be pronounced like the S or the Spanish J. In words of example of these words are éxito, éxito, experiencia, Mexico, or cela, excela, experiencia, like that. And the Z is generally sound just like the S in simple. Example, zeta, zorro, ves. So Z is pronounced as an S. And these are the basics of consonants. Hope you guys try to practice some of this, and we'll continue. If you ever have any other questions, just post anything. Thanks.